There is a very, very big movement in the past 3 or 4 years or so, moving away from 5e. And if you can get your Monopoly or Risk player like to try Catan or something, like, the floodgates open. Like, wow, I didn't know board games could be fun. And it's the same way for D&D. Like, you have your D&D play. He's only has ever played D&D, and then like, all right, let's just try this. Like, it has a lot of the same lingo and the same kinds of ideas. But it just leaves out all the stuff that like nobody really likes anyway, or at least a lot of people don't like. And then once someone tries a new RPG, it's like, all right, I'm just going to get all the different RPGs, and like now they can explore all like the dozens and dozens, or maybe even hundreds of different RPGs. So that movement is very much growing in the TTRPG scene right now.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another awesome episode of Crowdfunding Nerds. I am your host, Andrew Lowen, and I am not joined by Sean today. Instead, Donnie is on the podcast, the pseudo-Irish Donnie, instead of the fully Irish Sean.
Thrice removed.
Yeah, and we're joined by Evan Diaz of Nimble Co., and he recently launched the Nimble RPG, and we want to talk all about the pulse of the RPG community, where Evan sees it, because I really feel like Evan in his recent project with Nimble RPG has just not only nailed what I think RPG players and GMs want, but in his own unique way. But I really feel like the way that he went about collecting that information is something that we can all learn from. And I'm really excited to have you on the podcast, Evan. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah. So tell us, who you are, where did Nimble RPG come from, and why are you awesome?
Well, I'll answer the first two. So I started playing D&D like not too long ago, like a few years ago, but a lot of RPG players, like, they go back like decades, like to the 70s and 80s. And they have played every RPG and like all this sort of stuff. So they have like a lot of nostalgia for like the old ways. But I don't. Like, I can certainly appreciate it, from a historical point of view. But because I come at RPGs sort of without that nostalgic baggage, I just sort of see myself as, why does it have to work this way? Why can't it be faster? Why can't it be better? Why can't we change these things? But a lot of people, like a lot of RPGs, they have like 6 stats. And then like, but 2 of the 6 stats you never use, or they'll have like 20 different skills, and like you only use half of them. So like, but you can't remove them, because reasons. So I came at it sort of from that point of view. So a buddy at church said, "Hey, I'm getting a D&D group together. You should join us." And like, I had no interest in it whatsoever. I was like, there's no way I'm playing D&D. But this was a good friend of mine, so I was like, all right, just to humor him, I'll do it once just to say I can do it. And then like, oh, I'll be too busy, and like, no, I can't do it. So we got a group of like 12 people together, like, which is, if you're familiar, like, just imagine a board game with 12 people. It's that bad, but worse with RPGs. So it was a slog, but despite how slow it was, and all the problems with so many people, there were still enough like of these moments of like, wow, there's something really special here that hooked me. So shortly thereafter, the GM who got me started with D&D, he moved away. He was like, all right, guys, I'm leaving. So he moved to Hawaii, and so it was either someone has to step up and be the new DM, or we just stopped playing. So I was volunteered to be the new DM, and I sort of took it from there.
That's cool. Very cool. I really like what you say, about having a fresh perspective. I think that sometimes nostalgia can hold us back. I was actually thinking the other day about, the biggest developments to really hit games in the last 30 years were, I mean, you could go back further and the answer would be the same. But if I were to think of 3, it would be Catan, Dungeons and Dragons, and Magic the Gathering. Those 3 things, they kind of spawned phenomenons, and that you could make an argument for more, like Cards Against Humanity and other things like that. But the 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 RPG really is like how to do a fun thing in a new way, and totally revolutionized how people looked at make believe. Really, it's like make believe but for adults. And um I think it's gone through many, you know um I don't know, like I remember the whole Satanic Panic in the 80s, and then the like just in 2000 when I went through high school, I was it was like very nerdy. Like you didn't want to be
Yeah.
associated with D&D
Yep.
because it was too nerdy. And then in, maybe within 10 years, everybody was kind of embracing their inner nerd. And, and so it became like more socially acceptable to play things like RPGs and like talk about that you enjoy them and whatnot. But I feel like there are many cases in which the nostalgia, people hold on to things unnecessarily and they kind of forget where the fun is coming from. And I think that as game designers, our goal is to find the fun and then focus on that. And I think that RPGs, in an interesting, I guess, we have some very large RPG creators as clients like Magpie or Modifius Entertainment. And a lot of companies view the RPG as like the setting and the like where but the social experiment and then the fun is really from the people that sit around the table with you. And I think that that's largely like universally true. But Nimble really found like there are a couple of elements in D&D, like 5e, which is very popular. A lot of people like that. A lot of people play one shots that have lots of combat and other things too. And Nimble really targeted like a few critical areas of things like 5e to innovate. What are those areas? And maybe you could
Uh,
talk about combat first.
yeah, yeah. So, just like board games have evolved a lot in the past 10 or 20 years, like if you tell like people over the age of 50, like, oh, board game, oh, they'll think Monopoly or Parcheesi or like they'll think that. But like, no, board games are very, very different. And RPGs are very much the same. That there's new things that like you want to respect people's time. You want to like have, you don't want to have it take like an hour to do some silly little thing, like how do you teach the game? How do you get more people playing? Like there's thought to that more than just like Candyland, where like there isn't a mechanic, and my kids are young enough to where they don't really know that, like, oh, let's play Candyland, I'm very good at that game. um, there's that kind of progress happening with RPGs too. So for instance, if your viewers aren't familiar with D&D, before you can make an attack, you roll a die, and then you add a number to that, and you tell, all right, I got this number, and then the DM will say, okay, you hit, and then now you can get another set of dice, and you can roll those, and you add those up, and you add another number, and you say, I dealt this much damage. So there's like 3 or 4 or 5 different steps to do like one thing. So in Nimble, you just roll the damage dice, and it just happens. So everybody can see there. So there's no back and forth waiting. I have to add something up, and then he has to tell me something, and then I have to do another thing, and then he tells me something. So just thinking, whenever we can make like a choice that I make in the game, just take one action at the table physically. Like let's just go ahead and do that. Rather than like treating it sort of like a video game, like a computer can do all these different steps like very, very easily for you. In D&D, like makes a great video game, as you can see like from like Baldur's Gate 3. But like all these mechanics, it makes for a suboptimal tabletop experience. And like the first part of TTRPG is like the TT, like the tabletop. So it has to be resolved like mechanically at the table. So there's been a lot of thought with Nimble and like how to physically do the thing at the table so that there's less of the time is spent like just fiddling with things and going back and forth, and like more of the time is saved for like doing the cool things and like killing the goblins and fighting the dragons and stuff.
Very cool. I think about in combat, I played a lot of like Warhammer, and Age of Sigmar was another thing that I was around all the time. And I remember walking, there was this one convention that we would always go to in San Diego called Kingdom Con, where they would have a huge Warhammer and Age of Sigmar tournament. And I remember watching Age of Sigmar, and there was a guy that had these tiny little dice, like 8mm dice, and he would roll like 30 of them at the same time. And he would pick all of them out that were like 4 and above, and then he like would tap on like a tablet, and then he would roll a bunch of dice again and then tap more on a tablet. It's like, oh, I got 11 hits. Now let's see how much damage those 11 hits do. And he would take 11 dice and roll those, and he's like, oh, I dealt, I got like, I need a hit on a 5 or a 6, and he hit with 3 of the 11 dice rolls. And it's that's like that's a lot to just say, you take 3 damage. It's like, that's not
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, as much as you can. So like, imagine if you had like a balloon, and like if you pop the balloon, like that's an exciting thing that happens. Like you do a thing and something loud and big happens, right? And if there's confetti in it, like, oh, it's even more exciting. But if like I have the balloon, I decided to pop the let the air up, but like instead of popping it, I just sort of like let it out as slowly as possible. Like no longer it's no longer fun, but now it's like actively annoying and it takes up more time. So yeah, rather than like, all right, I'm gonna attack you with all of my guys, and then I just come back in 5 minutes and like I'll tell you like what happened. So like the closer you can get, like I've made this choice to like I see what the result of that choice is, like the more fun it is, and the longer that takes, the less fun it is, and the more sort of a slog is what we call it in the TTRPG space. It sucks the fun out of the room. But also like rolling that many dice, like if you're rolling 11 d6s or like 20 d6s, like it's just going to converge on the average. So you pretty well know exactly what you're going to do every single time. So it feels very random, but the more dice that you have, the less random it actually is. So Nimble is designed with these ideas in mind, so that like you don't have to roll 16 dice and add them up. Like the most dice you'll ever roll is like 2 or 3. So like it's not hard to add like 12 and 17, but it's way easier to add like 6 and 4. Like smaller numbers that you'll be able to do without like feeling like your brain is just completely drained after like playing for 2 or 3 hours. So a lot of those sort of things I have gone into the design of the game to make it quick to play, quick to understand, and like everybody at the table can see like, oh, I crit, and everybody can sort of go crazy.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like that was one of the problems with like sports games where like they would try to be like a tabletop game that would try to be like a simulation of the game. It's like it's not fun that way. It's fun to play the sport that way. Kind of what you're describing, like from a video game standpoint, it's like, oh, a video game handles all that bookkeeping. But it's like we don't have to do that. And it kind of again, it reminds me of the reason why why Richard Garfield designed Magic. He designed that game to be played in between turns during D&D. Like so there's room there to like, okay, so you're doing a sub game in between your main game, like there's a lot of room to really shore that up.
Yeah.
So that's really brilliant design. And again, thinking about the numbers, thinking again about Magic the Gathering. My son's been really into Magic, so that's where my head's been. It's like anything that's like a 4 and stronger is like a beefy dude. Like, if you got a 10 on the board, it's like, oh, that's crazy. So having those low stats and those low numbers, like you don't have to do anything larger than that. So that's brilliant game design and really caters to that.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for old D&D being slow, because I really enjoy Magic the Gathering today. But instead of like inventing another game, why not just make the turns go a little bit faster?
And again, I always think about it's like they walked so we could run today, right? So,
yes, well, yeah.
So that helps.
We absolutely stand on the shoulders of giants. So like no shade at all. Like I very much appreciate and know that like I couldn't be here today if it wasn't for them. Absolutely.
The concept of using so you had mentioned earlier, D&D makes a fantastic video game, and you cited Baldur's Gate 3, and a lot of the things that we know and love, if you're a video gamer, things like critical hits, if you have like a 19.82% chance to critically hit, that's much better than a 17.61% chance, but our brain doesn't work like that. And so I find something like, I think about American football. it's probably one of the more confusing sports to introduce somebody to, because it's like, okay, you have a ball and you have to put it in the end zone, and it's like,
You rarely use your feet.
Yeah, that's right. And you have 5 downs to do that, and that means rounds. Down is round, and then if it doesn't work, then the other team gets the ball and they get to try. And but there are so many weird, nuanced rules. Like, for example, you have a play was started, but a penalty was called. A referee throws a yellow flag, and the play, may or may not complete if they notice the flag. And sometimes it's like, offsides, blah blah blah. There's a penalty, and then other times it's like, offsides, penalty, but instead of restarting, they're just gonna reject the penalty. And I think about how dumb that would be if that was in a board game. It's like you're playing and you have whatever is the equivalent of the offsides penalty, and somebody has to say, there's a penalty, something bad happened, but just ignore it.
We have all these rules. Sometimes they apply, sometimes they don't apply. Sometimes it's 7 points, sometimes it's 1 or 2, or other things. So that all of that adds fun knobs, but to the uninitiated, I don't understand what in the world's going on.
Right. And I think that's one of the keys is, like, for me as a gamer of any kind, you have to know who you as in the universe of the game, who am I, what am I doing, and why does it matter to in the context of the game that I'm about to play, it in RPGs in large part are a power fantasy of some kind. So I'm this character that's gonna go on this epic quest and defeat this bad guy who's very bad, or whatever, right? And or rescue these people from a flood or something like that. And so it's easy to understand, but when you then add in minutia, it takes me out of the game, and I'm not that epic character being awesome in a world away from the physical. I am Andrew sitting at a table, rolling plastic cubes and drinking my soda, waiting for you to finish your turn.
It becomes like swords and spreadsheets instead of Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
It can very quickly suck the fun out of the game. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, but my sword is this and this kind of thing, and I applied this oil to it, and someone was standing next to the enemy, and this gives me a +1, and that gives me a -2, and man, all of this doesn't matter. Just you're doing all this stuff. All of that stuff sort of can sound fun, while you're designing the game, and that's sort of a trap, or while you're thinking about playing the game. And I can add this ability and this combos with that. And what the cost is that a lot of people don't ever ask themselves. Yes, you can do all this cool stuff. It can be a simulator, but what's the cost? The cost is all your friends who had to get babysitters to come over to your house. The 1 month, the one day of the month that they're able to do this, they're all sitting there watching you for 20 or 30 minutes, do your silly thing just so you can do 2 more damage. Maybe it's not worth it.
Yeah, and then the worst is when you get all that, you do that, and then you just whiff. It's like, okay, it's like you waited you waited 45 minutes for your turn to try and do something really cool, and then it just okay, nope, I missed. All right, and
at least
I lost a limb.
At least do something epic
for the day.
Don't waste my time and then have it be meaningless.
So is that something that Nimble addresses as far as those sorts of things, as far as whiffed turns, or
yes,
I guess almost like a loss of turn? Does it address those types of things?
Yeah, so not being able to play can happen a number of different ways. So if a monster stuns you or knocks you unconscious, or you drop to 0 hit points, or you're paralyzed, or there's lots of different sort of conditions that you can get to where I guess I'm just not playing. Or the wizard is over there casting spells and all these things, and the rogue is doing all this stuff, and you're just a fighter, and you roll your d20. And you have a 50% chance to miss, basically, throughout the game. You just miss half the time. So you roll your one thing, and I missed. My turn's over. And you get to see everybody else do all this cool stuff, and you're just sitting there for 20 or 30 minutes. So all the sort of annoying conditions that will just take away your agency and don't let you play. Like I get together a game night to actually play, not just to like my buds are fun, but I'd rather play, so these conditions that like knock you unconscious or stun you or where you lose control of your character, those just don't exist. So in Nimble, you get 3 actions. So like if you would be stunned, instead you're dazed and you just lose 1 action. So like you still have the same kind of effect. So there's this cost, but it's not like I just can't play. It's like, ooh, now I have to be more strategic about the 2 actions that I do have left. Or like if you drop to 0 hit points in D&D, like you just can't do anything. You have no recourse. But in Nimble, like if you're attacked, you can choose to spend one of your actions to defend. So like you can lower the damage that's coming in, but it's going to cost you one of your actions. So like, so you're not just at the mercy of the dice. You're not just sort of sitting there like scrolling your phone. Like even while it's not your turn, you have things that you can actively do. So there's that kind of stuff. But then attacking. So in D&D, you have like roughly 50% chance to miss just all the time. Like it doesn't really matter what level you are because the math sort of scales and you feel stronger, but you're still always doing the same thing. But in Nimble, you just always hit unless you roll a 1. So you always know what your odds to hit are. So worst case scenario, you're rolling a d4 and you have a 25% chance to miss. So like, well, why would anybody ever like use a dagger? That's a d4 weapon. If you ever roll the highest number on that die, well, you crit. So like you're accepting a 25% chance to miss, but you also get 25% chance to crit. So like, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that deal. But if you just don't like missing, you can use a weapon that's like a d12, where it's like you'll basically never miss, right? Every once in a while you'll miss just enough to sort of have that chaotic, like I don't know what's going to happen, but not so often to where like I just feel like I'm constantly wasting my turn. Like why do I even come? So you have things to do while it's not your turn to keep you engaged. And there's cool teamwork stuff. And the things that would take away your agency are either eliminated completely or reduced to a point to where like it feels fair, but not overly punishing.
Yeah. There's the, we kind of touched on it earlier about the players of a game in RPGs. There are so many different systems out there. I'm playing Root RPG with my kids, which uses the Powered by the Apocalypse system, which is modified for, so that a 5 or 6 year old can play as well. Like everybody's rolling their dice at the same time. If somebody wants to ask a question and figure somebody out, it's like everybody at the table rolls their dice, and because they just love rolling dice, right? But yeah. There are a lot of other systems, like there's Dungeons and Dragons 5e, there's 4th edition, 3rd edition. A lot of people swear by 3rd edition, or 3.5, sorry, and many other systems out there. And so when Nimble is another system, and the one of the things early on, I'm like, was talking to one of the first interactions that I had on your project myself, because Donnie was taking all the marketing and everything like that, was when it came to the Kickstarter page review. We always try to do a review early of a Kickstarter page to make sure, okay, are there any like major issues with the page? Is it laid out well and that kind of thing? And one of the primary pieces of advice that I had was, you had on your page, and still do, the that this system is compatible in some way with 5e, or you can use 5e adventures or something like that. And I was like, put that up higher up the page, because the fact that people don't have to entirely relearn a brand new system that they're not used to at all, I think is a very good thing, because then GMs, that's just like me, me thinking. And then Donnie, gave that advice, and I saw that got moved up a little bit. But it was when we did another review before you went live, it was like, well, I don't know if it's high enough up the page. And Donnie responded to me that actually his people said that they wanted a new system. Like, they're not excited about another 5th edition thing. And that's really kind of maybe the beginning of like the impetus for this podcast eventually, because I'm like, okay, well, sounds like Evan kind of doesn't, it's not like he's just guessing at this, but he knows somehow that his people don't really want another 5th edition thing. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd love it to just, if you would expand on that.
Yeah, definitely. So the previous, so the very first incarnation of Nimble, it was just like just a little zine. I think I have one around here somewhere. It was just a little zine, and it was a rules hack. So you're playing D&D Fifth Edition, you're playing 5e, and you can add these little rules to speed up the game, and people really like that. And then very quickly they said, oh, this should be its own thing. They sort of volunteered me like make it its own thing. So I did that. And initially it was called Nimble 5e. So like it was like top billing. So like, because to me that was the most important thing. Like I have like, stacks and stacks of books of like 5e adventures and supplements and all this sort of stuff. So that was like the most cool thing to me. But for other people, so for like half the audience, that was like, yeah, that's a really big selling point. For the other half of the audience, if they saw 5e on it, they were like, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that. So getting that feedback from people, I heard a lot of people say like, I saw 5e on this like at first, and then like that was just a big turnoff. But other people will see it, and it's a good thing. So um, just the things that some of these RPG companies have been doing have really been turning people off from their systems, and it's sort of like a bad reputation. Like how cozy do you want to get to people of questionable reputations? So there is really a very, very big movement in the past 3 or 4 years or so, moving away from 5e, and there's always going to be like the core people who like will only ever play that. But just like if you could get your Monopoly or Risk player like to try Catan or something, like the floodgates open. Like, wow, I didn't know board games could be fun. And it's the same way for D&D. Like, you have your D&D play. He's only has ever played D&D, and then like, all right, let's just try this. Like, it's you're rolling it for initiative. You're making perception checks, and like you can make strength saves. Like, it has a lot of the same lingo and the same kinds of the same kinds of ideas. But it just leaves out all the stuff that like nobody really likes anyway, or at least a lot of people don't like. And then once someone tries a new RPG, it's like, all right, I'm just going to get all the different RPGs, and like now they can explore all like the dozens and dozens or maybe even hundreds of different RPGs. So that movement is very much growing in the TTRPG scene right now.
Hey, Crowdfunding Nerds, it's Andrew Lowen, and I wanted to introduce you guys to the Crowdfunding Nerds Academy. If you don't know, we have a do-it-yourself course system that will teach you how to build, excite, and prepare a crowd to fund you on your launch day, and that is our goal. I have used these systems to help raise over $30 million for tabletop campaigns, over 200 tabletop crowdfunding campaigns since 2019. I've generated over $100 million through e-commerce sales using these processes. These courses teach you how to replicate our results. They're made for the small creator. Over 150 of those people were first-time creators. These courses contain hundreds of hours of podcast discussions and tons of details that are almost impossible to find on the internet. And they have been distilled into concentrated courses that you can absorb quickly. They are designed to generate results. We hold nothing back. Visit crowdfundingnerds.com/academy to learn more, or just Google search Crowdfunding Nerds Academy. Back to the show. That's excellent. I think that it's something that I feel like, naturally my bias is toward things that are safe. And maybe a better way actually to express it is that I always recommend as a marketer that instead of putting your sign up in some obscure location for your restaurant in a town, you don't want to put your sign on a street that one person a day travels down. You want to put it in the place with the greatest amount of traffic. And so you put it along the freeway, right near the exit, right before the exit, that people need to get off or whatever, so that the highest number of people see your advertisement. And then the quality of the advertisement will hopefully bring people in, and then the quality of your restaurant will get them to return or whatever, right? And what you're offering might interest people. So like in the games space, or actually talking, we'll talk about communities first. You want to go where the people already are. For example, Facebook, there are Facebook groups, there are Discord communities. People use Facebook, people use Discord, people use Instagram, people use TikTok. Like, those are the things that we generally want to leverage because people are already there. one thing, or Board Game Geek or RPG Geek, and one place you generally, one example of a thing it's kind of like putting your sign up in the middle of nowhere, is creating forums on your own website, because that requires somebody to adopt a new pattern of behavior rather than mixing into the pattern of behavior that they've already established for themselves. And so I kind of always look at RPGs as in a similar way, where people are used to the 5e system. So why not give them something better, but also in the 5e system, because that's safe and that's what they kind of, are used to. And what you've expressed is like, people, there's a very large community of people that are like, no, we want to see something new. And so yeah, it's really, really good for people that are designing new systems that are breaking molds. And I think that the future of RPGs, honestly, is exceedingly bright. I just see RPGs growing like gangbusters, because probably because of this phenomenon. I don't know. You're kind of on the cusp, in my opinion, of innovating here.
It's sort of like getting your kids to try new food. Like, I don't want mashed potatoes. Oh, you know French fries, right? It's kind of like French fries, same thing, just a little bit different. Like, okay, I like French fries. So it's the same kind of thing. Like if people are just used to the one thing, like it makes sense. Like why would you try something new? But yeah, you got to start with where they are, and then sort of slowly ease them into new stuff, and then they start being like your biggest evangelists.
And I think that's, I guess, really the key, right? Like the people that tell others that this system is great, and those people are the GMs, right? How do you sell the idea of Nimble RPG to a GM?
Yeah. So
like, what advice would you have for others listening for their products?
Yeah, so D&D has like very much in the recent years gone the way of I think in even some of the, like their marketing material, like, oh yeah, your DM's gonna hate this ability, it's so good. And like, why'd you say something like that? Like, you can't play without like the DMs and the GMs, like, they buy all the stuff. So why would you do that? So there's almost like no thought toward like the most important person at the table, who's like making, like who's running the game, like making it happen, like putting it on. Like they're buying all this stuff, they're putting the hours of prep and like making sure everybody has a good time. It's like because I was like forced upon, I had that mantle forced upon me. I very quickly realized like all the different ways. Like, one, it was hard to learn. Like, you can't just like read this rule book and learn how to be a DM for D&D. Like, I had to do research and watch all these YouTube videos. It was like a second job for a while. And then like once I learned, like, so the barrier to entry was high. And then once I learned it, like there was all these frustrating things that like were getting in my way, and like the rules that were supposed to do this, like how do you make an encounter? I've got 3 heroes and I want them to fight some goblins, right? How many goblins should I put? Like, it's not easy. Like, oh, you should put, if you have 3 heroes, you should put 3 goblins. Like, it's not easy. It's like this arcane chart, and like if it's this, then you should do that, and if it's this, then you do this other thing, and then like you follow the chart to a T, and like it still doesn't work. So there's just like almost no thought goes into like making the game easy to pick up, easy to teach new GMs, and not just easy, but like making it fun to run the game, and like, all of these different things. Because that was me and my problem, like I designed everything with that in mind. So like monsters that are easy to run, encounters that are easy to do, adventures that like you don't need to prep for hours and hours to make them work. Because that's just what I needed when I was getting started.
I think the prep is such a killer. I mean, the one thing that's famous in like all circles, I think for nerds that are kind of outside D&D, is when a group of people get together to play D&D, the GM has spent hours crafting this adventure, and everyone's like, "Nah, let's. Oh, there's a guy that has a quest, in the tavern. You're like, let's ignore him, And then he's like, he runs out after you, chasing you, like, "Hey, everyone, I have a quest." They're like, "Let's kill him,"
Yeah.
He's level 20 though,
Yeah. There's advice in the GM's guide, like, what do you, like, you're a brand new GM, what do you do if your players do that? Just to like address it, and sort of take that worry and that frustration that out of the equation, because that was a big thing that I was worried about when I first started. So yeah, advice and information and tools to deal with those kinds of situations.
What's your experience like, Donnie? In playing RPGs, like you're hearing about all this. What do you make of it?
Oh, I love it. So yeah, so when I think about running RPGs, like so for my sons, I'm running the Mouse Guard RPG right now, and it's super fun. Um, and mainly my oldest one, and so it's kind of like a one-on-one sort of thing. Um, and I kind of make things up as I go. Like that's kind of how I do it. I have a background in theater and improv, so becomes a little more naturally that way. I try to set some sort of guidelines, and like this one, he was doing like a mail run, but then it kind of what was fun is I let him kind of explore and make decisions, and in doing that, that gave me an idea of like, oh, this is going on, but he doesn't know that yet, you know. And so after about 2 years of that, we're now like at the precipice, yeah, of like uncovering this entire like underground movement happening to try and undermine Lockhaven and all this stuff. And he's assembled. We call him the Bad Batch from Star Wars because like all these specialized like guard mice, and he's on the back of his Raven, who he named Encalagon. Like, and they're all flying to Dark Heather, this undisclosed location that he found. But you just kind of make it up on the. I just kind of make it up on the fly with like a loose framework. But for D&D, if I'm trying to do something a little more structured, I end up finding I ended up finding I had to do like twice the work. Where it's like, okay, if they decide to not go to the main quest, I have to have something in my back pocket, to like, okay, or either to push them that direction, which is a very like video game technique. When you think of like World of Warcraft and stuff, it's like you go to this area, it's like, oh, I'm not ready for this area, so I have to go. There's level 15 monkeys here. I'm not ready for that. I need to go this way. Bring me the coconut crabs, please. So like I've done some of that, or I just have two things tied together. So it's tied together, but the players don't know that yet. So that tends to be another way I try to go. But it does take a lot of extra work. You're reading about monsters. Like for me, when I was running D&D, I wasn't seasoned in D&D, and even now, I wouldn't even call myself close to that. I couldn't tell you the stats of a knoll off the top of my head. Like it's not. I have no idea. But like I found myself, it was exactly what you said, Evan. It's like it became a second, like that. This becomes your hobby. It's a lifestyle game because you have to know so much as a GM, or not that you have to know. It's like you have to know before you play. It's like if you're going to include these things, and be ready for your players. But I think a lot of that comes with experience as you're just doing it. But no, that's what caught my attention with Nimble even before you came on as a client, because I was looking for RPGs and stuff for my sons. I love RPGs. My son has expressed interest in D&D. I'm like, okay, well, I've played D&D. I know it's hard, and this was when he was maybe 11 at the time. So it's like, okay, I know D&D can be pretty mathy and kind of difficult. It's like, and I came across Nimble at first for that, and it's like, okay, this is a thing. I was like, all right, somebody's doing this, and he decided to play Mouse Guard instead, so we kind of went that direction. But then you came on as a client, and so my son again is like, oh, I really want to play D&D. I'm like, hey, well, there's this thing that's exactly like it's all the fun stuff in D&D, but you're going to get to do more of that fun stuff. So yeah, I mean, those are the things I kind of look for in role playing games. Is like, how much can I just role play and improvise without worrying about the numbers so much? And I know D&D has room for that, but again, like when it comes to things like combat, or it's like you're kind of like stuck in this. It can feel like you're stuck in this, like this is how it has to be done, unless you're seasoned and you can kind of improvise or fudge the rules in a certain way because you understand the rule set. There's a saying that I like, is that you can't improvise until you know the lines, right? It's like, so D&D is kind of the same way. It's like you can't manipulate the rules, or else they're going to be fighting a Tarask, at level 3. It's like, well, no, that's not going to work, or yeah, that's a bad day. That's a very bad day. So anyway, so those are the things I kind of look for in RPGs. That's what turned me on to like Root, and like the Avatar Legends RPG and stuff, because because of that ease of entry, and that's what turned me on to even Nimble.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Now, Evan, I guess I want to ask, one thing Donnie told me when I had, when we had that last discussion about, right before you launched, about your launch, or about your page, Donnie said that you engage on Reddit and learned things there. Do you regularly engage on Reddit at all, or where do you engage with your communities? Where do you engage with people that give you this information? Is it always in person? Where would you say other RPG creators should go and kind of build relationships and develop, you know, where did it work for you?
Yeah, so no, I'm not a big Reddit guy.
I was gonna say, I had to double check my, like,
Okay.
is that what I said, Andrew? I'm gonna
else.
double check my chat.
Yeah, you do know a lot of Evans. Yeah, no, not Reddit for me, but with my very first crowdfunder, I didn't have anything. I had zero audience. I didn't even have a website. I had nothing. I was like, I'll just do this, and just for fun. And then like right away, like one of the first comments on that Kickstarter page was like, "Hey, do you have a Discord server?" I was like, "No, I don't have one of those. I don't do that." And then like a second person said, "Hey, you should start a Discord server." And like I think by the second or third, like I was like, "All right, I'll do that." So the Discord server right now is probably the main community hub. And like basically the audience will sort of tell you like where they want to engage with you. With email obviously is the best because that's you own that, and that's just a one-to-one contact. Same thing with like Patreon. People said, "Hey, you should start a Patreon." I was like, "No, I don't think so. I don't want to do that." And then like by the time you hear it, like a handful of times, like yeah, it's probably a pretty good idea. So the good thing about that is like you don't have to come into a project like with all of those things already made. And especially if you're getting into crowdfunding for like the first time. My first project, I expected to like break even if I was lucky and probably lose money. That was sort of my goal. It did a lot better than I expected, which I'm very grateful for. But like mercifully, it was small enough to where it wasn't too incredibly stressful. Like I was able to go to school on the first one, and the second one was like a good bit bigger, but like still not so big to where it was like not so much that I couldn't like fulfill it myself. So like each one like being successively a little bit larger really helped. I've seen too many like crowdfunding projects that the creators like they add add-ons and they mess up shipping and the logistics is a problem, and they make too many promises and they end up just like burning all their bridges and like just losing trust and all this sort of stuff. So I would definitely recommend like starting out much smaller and just sort of growing the audience organically and slowly. And a lot of these questions sort of answer themselves as you go, and people will tell you what they want.
That's fantastic. I'd like to take a look actually at your page. Let me we're gonna actually screen share for those that are watching on video. We'll screen share, but then those that are just on audio, we'll talk about this, and this kind of gives away what day we're recording this podcast. You've got 15 days to go on the campaign. As far as whoa, you have 3,333 backers, the
Nice.
perfect number.
No more.
Now Project
Shut it down
on Kickstarter.
Yep.
And you're over $500,000 raised. I want to say you did about 300,000 in the first 48 hours, and then in the next, I mean, you're on pace to, I mean, in my opinion, you're looking close or passing $1 million campaign, just based on how excited people are, and that trajectory is not a normal trajectory for a crowdfunding campaign. People found this and love it. Is kind of what the numbers are showing me. From launch day till now, you've doubled your amount of backers and and everything, or from that first 48-hour mark, which is really important in the game space. You've doubled that. So I just wanted to kind of go through it and ask, like, why did you do the things you did, and then point to things. We have this podcast we recorded about your thesis statement, and which is a school term for writing an essay, but it's like the main idea. What is the main idea of this? That you have your opening statement, which is kind of like this Slay TTRPG slog. That's your opening statement, and what is it? It answers like a TTRPG reprint and expansion for Nimble. It's an RPG monster manual you've been waiting for, and there are other things too. And I feel like your thesis, so you've got like lots of social proof, which I really love, and your thesis statement is this. It's this first paragraph as what it is. I love, like, you've got a couple of things that just super smart, clever. It's not rules heavy or rules light, but rules tight, things like that. But you say what it is. Nimble is a fast, tactical TTRPG that eliminates the slog, all too common in our game nights. It's like, okay, what you're saying is I kind of agree with, because I have slog in my game nights, like for TTRPG, and it now is kind of, this paragraph frames everything else that I'm going to look at. And what you do is you say, like, you back it up with social proof, like quotes. Anyone who has played 5e will pick it up nearly instantaneously. And then, awesome, instead of checking my phone by round 3 of another sluggish 5e slugfest, I'm riding a nimble roller coaster and enjoying every twist and drop until the end. Cool stuff. And then you get right into the core rules as to what this product is. And I think that your most powerful, so you've got your main idea. We eliminate the slog, and that's kind of, you've got your core rules are fast tactical play, your choices matter, and perfect balance of quick to learn and deep strategy. These are generic but good points to make. And these 3 bullets right here, these are like money. They're gold. Your heroes attacks just hit. It's like, that's not normal in RPGs, and it really stands out. And exploding critical hits and instant initiative. And it's like, what do these mean? Like, they mean things to me as like an RPG gamer. I'm a noob RPG gamer, but they obviously mean things to your audience as well. And I was wondering, if you could walk us through this. What is really, I guess, the question I have for you? What is the most important segment to you? Why did you put these things in the order you did? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the question that I was asking
scroll wherever
myself.
you want.
Sure. So this isn't the first printing. This is the second printing. So there's like the core rules, and then there's this expansion. And just sort of thinking to myself, the people who already own the core rules and they want the expansion, like, they're going to be a lot more motivated. So I can put the expansion stuff a little bit lower on the page. So what the people that I want to catch and hook right away are like the new people who, like, what is this? I've got suspicions, like, sell me on it, right? So we have all these things, like, people in the TTRPG space, like, they'll know like all those channels, and they'll know those people, and like, oh, if these guys like it, all right, maybe it's not just like some scam or something. In the TTRPG space recently, there's been like Kickstarter scams, so like that's sort of a big deal. But so you start with the core rules, like why this game instead of like one of the many, like, dozens of other RPG games, or just let's just keep playing D&D, guys. We know it already. Like, nobody likes to learn a new game. So why? Like, it's fast, it's tactical, right? Your choices matter. Like, nobody would describe, few people would describe D&D as fast. Nobody would really describe it as tactical. Like, there's all these weapons and all these spells, but like, there's really kind of only one weapon, like whatever the biggest one you can use. So like, there's this illusion of choice, and there's like a ton of different spells, but like, if you can never cast Fireball, like, that is just the best spell. So it doesn't matter if there's 600 other spells. So it's tactical in a lot of those ways. So just very, very high level, like, I'm not expecting someone to understand all the rules, but I want to get across the emotional, the key words that, like, oh, fast is good, my choices matter. And then, like, if I see fast, like, the question that I would ask is like, oh, it's probably one of those like rule games where there's like no rules and you're sort of like just vamping and just sort of improving to each other. Like, it's not that. Like, it's there's like there's deep strategy also. So like, anytime you say one thing, like, people are going to assume another thing. So whatever question they're going to have next, you need to make sure that you answer that. So I think that's a big part of the whole presentation.
Yeah, so you kind of go from the core rules and your main kind of arguments. This is fast tactical play. Your choices matter. Perfect balance of quick to learn and deep strategy. And then you back up like these are 3 cool things that do what I'm talking about up here in the core rules. And now then you get into easily use your 5e content. My question has this been valuable to place here, or I guess um was it very important for you, or is this something that was I don't know, what do you think about it being there?
Yeah. So, for someone like myself who is like heavily invested in 5e, like I've got all these books and I'll all these adventures that like I'll never play in D&D because I know I just don't have the time. The fact that like, oh, I don't just have to throw those all away when I take on this new system. If I want to invest in this new system and play this, like that's a huge selling point. It was in other campaigns, it was like much higher as sort of like the top billing, but now it's like much less important. Because 5e is sort of a double-edged sword. Like some people really like it, and other people it's a big turnoff. So it's a thing there if you want, but if you don't want it, it's a relatively small section you can scroll past pretty quickly. Yep. But since it's part of the core rules, then it needed to be under this core rule system.
Yeah, this next section I think is the most important section on the entire page. It's in my view the best single example that you have on this entire page. This deep yet focused section shows the D&D character book or character sheet, the Pathfinder character sheet, and the Nimble character sheet. Those 3 things, if people know what they are. Nimble, like D&D is like a full page, Pathfinder 2 front and back, and Nimble is a half page, only front.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
And it's really just like the top quarter of that page.
Yeah.
No, that's so smart, because I even, again, thinking about playing with my son, he forgets his back page all the time because your stats are all on one side. It's like, oh, and then the back side tends to be more utility. It's like, okay, what other little things? So that's so smart, but he always forgets about it. So it's so smart to do that.
Yeah,
and it's always good anytime you can show instead of tell. Like if someone could just see, like, what do you mean simple? Oh, here you go. Oh, what do you mean focused? This is what I mean. Then people can see and judge for themselves.
Yeah, I had a fun time talking about trap options. Like you could dig holes better, or you could gain the X strike ability, which kills 2 things in a single blow. Yeah, whatever.
You could read people's thoughts and explode their heads. Like, well, I'll pick that one. Yeah.
Or you could be slightly better at pickpocketing.
Yeah. you know the religious history of this region.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and then you get into your heroes. So these are kind of part of like digging into that power fantasy of like, who am I? What am I doing? Why do I care? And they're not like, fighter, mage, rogue, wizard. You've got berserker, commander, shepherd, and a bunch more. What's your rationale behind like, going kind of off the main line here? And like, is this normal or?
I don't know how normal it is, but when I was initially developing the system, I had I was just using the same names as D&D had, but like the ranger instead of the hunter. And so I would say, all right, here's the nimble version of the ranger, and then people say, no, a ranger should be X, Y, and Z. A ranger does this. So it's like, all right, well, it's not a ranger anymore; it's a hunter now. So it's complete. So just psychologically, a lot of times people need a new word for a thing so that they can detach from like their preconceived ideas of it. So that's most of it. But like with like, there's a lot of content there, and I don't think I could really hope to explain all the cool things about all these 11 different classes. So I sort of summarized just 3 of them, like 3 of the major archetypes, and then just laid the rest out there so that people can sort of assume like, oh, there's equally cool stuff in all of these other different classes.
I also think the way that you lay your page out, it really helps to like your graphic design is minimal, but so is the text. The text is minimal as well. If you're telling me it's fast and it's focused and it's easy to learn and that kind of thing, don't give me 900 lines about how the berserker works. But like I have 2 bullet points that sound awesome, And I think what we're trying oftentimes to do is like not explain how it works, but explain how it feels when it works.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I was reading some other. I was trying to learn some other game a month or two ago, and they're just like paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. And this was like the starter set of some other RPG. I was like, man, like just like the first paragraph, this game is already telling me it does not want to respect my time. It wants to waste my time. So I closed it and I just put it away, and I may never open it up again. Yeah, so you got to be real careful about dumping too much information on people.
The GM guide is like the next section, and it's very important. And we may not get through all the sections or anything, but I felt like this was really important. How you kind of focus, how do you talk to GMs? Donnie, I'd actually like to ask your thoughts. What do you think about this as a GM yourself? Do these things stand out to you, like easy to run, easy to teach, easy to homebrew, or do you say like, oh, I'm not sure if I believe you yet? He's done a really good job. Evan's done a really good job of like backing up with social proof. So you're probably like looking along and nodding at this time. But I'm curious to know, easy to run, easy to teach, easy to homebrew. Are these quick to prep, easy to balance, and sandbox world more impactful on your kind of how you are, how you perceive this?
Yeah. So when I look at that, my first thought is always, yeah, okay, I've heard this a million times, right? It's like I've heard, oh, it's easy to run, it's easy to teach, easy to homebrew. It's like, okay, but I mean, the thing that's nice about what I've seen so far, like going down the page, and something really key, I think, in the design that you hit on the landing page design as well, is that when someone says, hey, I want to play a shepherd, you can hand them a little pamphlet or a little zine that's like, hey, here's all the stuff you need to know on a shepherd. Not here's this giant player book. It's between pages 33 and 78. You know, it's like I have it marked with a post-it. It's like that is like that right there. Yeah, exactly. That's beautiful. Because for those listening, he just held up one of them, and it's like perfectly like streamlined. It's beautiful art. It's like you want to go through it. You want to dive into it. So as a GM, being able to pick that up and say, oh, you want to play the Zephyr. Okay, here's the Zephyr. Here's the main things you need to think about, you know. So he's already explained that it's easy at that point, as far as easy to teach, and then it being easy to run. He's again already kind of hit those core points before that. So what's nice is that even though I may be hesitant at first, by this time on the page, if I'm already there, I've already invested enough in like wanting to know more. So that really helps. That page kind of does help me help sell me as a GM. Yep. If any of those words made sense in that order.
Yeah, no, they're great. You know, one other thing for myself as like a newer, you know, I got into RPGs out of necessity because I have 7 children, 8 coming in over summertime, and every kid game makes me want to poke my eyes out with a pencil. And so RPGs seem like a natural, you know, let the kids be themselves in this social experiment, you know, and it's been very fun. So being a gamer, but not like a seasoned RPG DM, I'm looking at stuff like legendary monsters act after each hero's turn, which is where in this legendary monsters section in the GM guide, it makes me think, okay, this is easy to balance if I have a lot of players. And that one little line really helps a lot, because it shows me what's behind the veil of, like you had alluded to, you know, you've got 3 players, how many goblins do I use? And you know, those types of things being streamlined, it's like, okay, I know how many to use. It's like maybe 1 elite goblin and 2 regulars or whatever, but it's not going to be like, okay, you know, 7 goblins for 3 players, but 13 goblins for 4 players, and only, you know, 2.5 goblins for 5 player for 2 players. So, but yeah. So, anything else you feel like, Evan, that you did that you feel made a big difference? Like, what advice would you have based on like kind of the way this page is laid out? What should we look at, or have we looked at like the main points already?
There's one thing, I think sometimes more helpful than like things that I did good is like things that I wish I could have changed, because you know, Kickstarter unfortunately doesn't let you change some things once the project's already launched. I did get a good bit of feedback from people that like the pledge tiers were a little bit confusing, and could have used more clarity and some of the like add-ons and things. So I would have streamlined some of those things a bit. I would have tried to have. It was something I struggled with, but just because it's not just like one thing, it's sort of like a core game plus an expansion. You can only avoid it so much, but
Yeah.
What I would recommend is do whatever you can to make sure the pledge tiers are very clear, like what's inside the thing, um, and easy to do the thing that you want to do. So like when there's a thing with a lot of different components, like a lot of people, they just want to sort of pick and choose. And at a certain point, you do have to say like, no, like adding all of these different options is going to make my life a logistical nightmare to save you $12. Like, sorry, like maybe in the future, but backers will ask for a lot, and like, hey, that's fair. Like, it's great feedback to get. It's a great data point. But as a creator, like, do not be afraid to like very politely say no. Like, oh, let's add a plushie and add this and add that and all these different add-ons. That can very quickly spiral out into a very, very big problem. So that is something that I think is incredibly important to learn early on.
This lady's been really effective for ads, hasn't it? I see her.
Yeah, there's one of them that just says
Revenant.
Revenant, and yeah, a lot of people, it's starting to gain traction for sure. It's a newer one that we put on, I think last week. I think we put on, yeah, and in a few of them, it's definitely gaining traction. It's a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah,
it's very cool. So yeah, I guess Evan, I'd like to ask maybe as a follow up, what would you change? Like we have the all in deluxe, which is like heck expensive, $400, but amazing. And then you've got everything that kind of, to me, it looks like it goes. So you've got the $1 pledge, which is for people that want to build their own bundle, like or get in at the pledge manager or just select add-ons, whatever. And then you kind of oscillate between the core book and the expansion, or core content and the expansion content. And you also have digital and like digital PDF and physical. And so what would you have changed? Like if you could just change right now, like specifically, would you remove any pledge levels?
So I would have started out with like more clarity initially about like what's included in each of the different things. I think having fewer pledge levels and then just fewer add-ons, also just simplifying things in general. Anytime a customer is confused, their chances of just like closing the page and doing nothing just really go up.
Right.
So yeah, I would definitely streamline things a good bit. Maybe have no more than like 3 physical options, and then like those same 3 options just digital. So it's just super clear. But for like the first campaign, I think like the entry level price was like $4, and then the most you could possibly spend was $25.
Yeah.
And then the second one, I think the entry thing was like maybe $20, and the most you could spend was $95. And then this one, like when people like a thing, they want to support you, and if you don't give them the opportunity, they just can't. So there are like the special edition fancy things, but there's also like the regular things for the people who don't really want all that stuff. So it's important to have a sort of range there so that people can support you at the level that you want. And it can be hard when you're first starting out. It's hard for me still to ask for money from people for this thing that you've made. But you've got marketing costs, you've got manufacturing costs. Like I pay artists, like real artists, who do real work, and writers to like make this stuff. So all of that stuff costs money. So go ahead and charge like what the market rate is, and people will support you.
Yeah. How do you have an idea of how many people are using pledge over time, as because you have several pledge levels that are above $125? Do you have any idea of how many people are doing that? Is it like a lot, or
More than I would think. So I don't know the number off the top of my head. I could probably find it for you. But a number of people said like, oh, I wouldn't have done this, but pledge over time, baby. Or like, oh yeah, I'll add this add-on. Now I qualify for pledge over time. Like, yeah, that's great. And the only reason, like, I wasn't really even going to feature that, but I read into it a little bit more. Like, it's not like a Klarna or like Affirm, like, you all this interest and stuff. There's no interest. It just lets people pay, over a course of a few months. So because it's that, I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. But I think it's moved the needle a bit, but it does just make things a little bit easier on people.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure having you, and of course, congratulations on the success of the campaign, and good luck, the rest of the go. You've got a pledge manager that you're going to be running and everything like that as well. When do you expect to fulfill this?
So expecting to go to the printer in the summertime, and then Q3, Q4 fulfillment should be done. Yep.
Okay, that's pretty fantastic. So, well, cool, man. So yeah, look at Nimble RPG on Kickstarter, and thanks Evan Diaz for joining us, and Donnie, glad to have you here too. We're gonna see you next week, nerds, for another awesome topic. Catch you around.
Hey, Crowdfunding Nerds, if you're looking for an awesome fulfillment partner for US shipping, you should really consider Bridge Distribution and Fulfillment. I personally use them. I've used them for multiple projects. They do such a great job. They also can fulfill Amazon orders and get you prepped for Amazon and their warehousing team. I have been so happy using Bridge Distribution. I'm really proud that they're sponsoring us. If you reach out, bridgedist.com, that's bridge, DIST.com, let them know we sent you.